Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Tashana. Let's get into this. So, hi guys. I hope all is well. As you know, we are midway through the periodic table. I actually assumed that we were going to be discussing the credit that we can get from the universe. We discussed being in debt to, and then I was like, okay, let's talk about the credit that we can get, right? But the creator's like, no. So the creator wanted me to mention the different dynamics that are attached to these very significant relationships, in particular, prominent and royal bloodlines, right? Let's just start here. The matriarch system was the original system that was set in place, meaning women ran everything, right? And the system, the same way you see animals now, is how our ancestors used to run their societies or their civilizations, right? When you begin to look at the differences between back then and today, they're highly distinct, right? Never in a million years would you ever see a woman, literally saying she's a man and vice versa, right? So where we are today as a people, we've really moved in a direction that's not only unpredictable, but just not in favor of the reproduction of us as a whole, right? Strong women create weak men. I'll say that again. Strong women create weak men. Okay? We are under all these assumptions that, these really grand things are owed to us without us ever, having to put in much effort and consistency. And here we are rolling about things so entitled and carrying on as if the world owes us, but we pay limited attention to the behaviors, and when I say limited, and when I say we pay limited attention to, I'm saying us as a black collective, right? As a black group, because everyone pays attention to what black people have going on, right? Everybody's always in our business trying to copy us, trying to do what we do. The thing is, we know we that, right? That's not the topic though. The topic is really, we need to allow our men and our boys develop and get them off of the titty sooner. When you start looking and you see young men who are preteens or early teens that are in our community, they rely heavily, and this is in traditional settings, right? Of course, some of us have different stories and we don't all resonate with the traditional family dynamic, right? So for those who do come from a traditional family dynamic, I think it's important to understand that the things your mom did, the things that your mom is willing to do, is not only because she's your mom and it's her responsibility and she loves you endlessly. She didn't know another way. I can assure you. And it's important for the men to realize that the cycle of, being a single mother needs to be broken. But not only does he need to break it, he needs to realize that there's a lot of toxicity associated with that particular dynamic. And I'm not saying only black men come from independent, strong women, right? But statistically, it's mainly us who are single raising our children. So I actually said like a little prayer today, and then the creator's like, strong women make weak men. And I'm like, come again? He was like, you heard what I said, girl? And I can attest to that because, and when I say weak, I mean manipulative, especially towards women. I mean heavily reliant upon the emotional status of the women that they're connected to in order to benefit in some sort of way, right? If this woman is in pain, you could take advantage and get what it is that you want at that moment, right? Especially if you're on her good side. Knowing that she is going to always make herself available and accessible to you, so that access becomes abused, right? You begin to abuse the one person that God had created for you to look at as a source of inspiration, yet you take that person and you take that relationship and you misuse the energy and the resources, right, that are connected to that person. And it usually happens with women that are close to you, that you love first. And then you start testing out that same theory and behavior on women that you date. And you become a serial dater. And then that particular mindset is now embedded, right? You don't even see another way of thinking or dealing. And mainly with women. I mean, because obviously people can be gay, bisexual. They can learn ways to manipulate people of the same sex for non-sexual reasons, right? So this is all subjective and it's all going to vary. But the overall premise of the conversation is to simply be aware of the toxicity that is developed, right? And cultivated by not the mom, but the children. Because this norm is the norm, you don't have a good concept of self, simply because not the absence of the role model, but the presence of the role model. The sole parent households, the aggression because of having to take on the responsibilities of the masculine. And I'm not blaming anyone, because obviously we know that we live in a society that has made our men as the least competitive and offensive and scary as possible, right? Let's break this black man down and let's make him as intimidating and competitive the least we can. Let's decrease his ability to be intimidating and competitive. I'm sorry, let's decrease it. So this conversation happens in several homes, and here we are looking to contribute in an environment that has planned and is very intentional on making us an outcast, right? So the approach of the strong woman, of the, you won't do that to my child, and oh, y'all gonna accept us and respect us, and we're gonna raise and none of those things are wrong, but it is counteractive to healthy development, right? You want your offspring to be able to be self-reliant. You don't want anything coming out of your house being weak, right? So it's very weak when a man says things like, oh, my mom paid for everything. Because even if you are not in a position to pay for anything, you should desire to do so. And if you are, and that is your response, you suck. Okay? If you are in a position to be a provider, a reliable provider, and you deny the responsibility when it is, especially when it is God-given, meaning when you are a parent, when, one of your parents died and you may be the oldest spouse, or maybe you're the youngest spouse and you may have it all together better than everyone else, or the cousin or the grandma, that part doesn't matter. The overall gist here is to be fully aware of your responsibilities as a man. Not what's expected. What are you responsible for? And a woman molding that for a man is unhealthy. It's very toxic. I don't think it's a woman's place to be able to tell a man how to be a man. A woman can't do that. How can you tell a man how to be a man? It's just impossible. It's toxic, and it's just not cute. Especially when you know that you've had to take on the role and responsibilities of the man. Your advice is, number one, only coming from your experience, right? It's based off of your experience, what you know. So that's just one little spectacle of what manhood entails, right? Not to mention that you're a woman. Your biological makeup doesn't even give you the concept of what comes along with manhood. A man can't tell you how to put a pad on. A man can't tell you how long you should keep your bra on. They can, but the first-hand experience will never happen. It's not going to happen. I don't care how many nip and tucks and hormones you consume, right? The overall idea is to be secure within yourself. And if you're a woman who's so strong and independent, and you raise a child with that mindset and environment, especially a man, he's going to be weak. It's very important for you to let your child develop and do whatever it is that they are guided to do by the Creator. I'm not saying send them outside and let the car thieves and the drug dealers mold them and inspire them. But it's important for especially males to find their way. Women are to be molded. Boys are to figure it out. And especially as a black woman, again, you don't hold the capacity to be able to instruct a man on those things. You can only tell a man what you want and what you expect and what you desire. And that is subjective, because every woman requires something different from a man. But I'm going to end it here. I do love y'all. I hope all is well. We should be resuming back to the periodic table this week. I hope y'all are drinking your water, eating your fruit and your vegetables, and sipping on your own tea, because it's free. Love y'all. Peace.